Hey, what's going on, everybody? We're going to start class today, finishing up Section 2 and then talking a little bit about Section 3, Self-Defense and Just War. It's important to note that today we just want to make sure we have all of our notes copied down. I'm going to give you plenty of time in between each slide to copy down the notes, and then we'll discuss them further on Wednesday. Just a quick reminder, on Wednesday we're having our open homework quiz with our words to know from sections 1, 2, and 3. And then on Friday we're having our quiz with multiple choice, true and false, and matching column. That's going to be on Friday on sections 1, 2, 3, 4, and possibly 5. Alright, so I'm just going to give you a minute or two to just make sure that we are now open to our notes. Alright, the slide before this talks about Brother Fox. I know that in 2 of the classes we went over Brother Fox very quickly, so I'll make sure that we go over him and answer any questions we have on him on Wednesday when I return. But for now, we're going to finish up Section 2, talking about the 5th commandment, requiring that we take care of our body. Alright, so just make sure our notes are open and then we'll get started. So on this slide, we just see a quick recap of everything that we learned in Section 1. The 5th commandment demands that we take care of ourselves with a proper diet, hygiene, exercise, and rest. Alright, we should protect ourselves from any disease. We receive appropriate medical treatment when necessary. Try and avoid any foolish, dangerous stunts or activities, anything that could potentially lead to harm of our body. Okay, ultimately, if we're doing something like a foolish stunt or a dangerous activity that could cause harm to our body, then we're not taking care of our body, and we know that we must take care of our body under the 5th commandment. Alright, we have a vocab word here, gluttony. Gluttony is the improper use of medicine, drugs, or alcohol that may harm the body. Alright, gluttony is too much of something. Let me get over to my pencil. Okay, and in this case, we're talking about gluttony in terms of too much medicine. All right, so you have a headache, your head hurts, you take 1 or 2 Advil, that's fine. Having 7, 8, 10, 12 Advil at one time or even in a day is too much. Okay, that it gets to a point where instead of the Advil taking care of our body, it starts to hurt our body. Okay, so when we see gluttony, we have to think of too much of something. Okay. That about wraps up Section 2. We're going to start off with Section 3 now. So in Section 3, we're going to talk about self-defense and just war. Okay, there are times when killing another person is not forbidden. Notice how it says forbidden there and not you're allowed to. It doesn't say you're allowed to kill other people. It just says it's not forbidden. Okay, when attacked, we have a duty to defend ourselves and other people. Self-defense may end with the killing of a person, okay? But ultimately, in defending yourself, you have to be asking yourself the question, am I trying to take this person's life, or am I simply defending myself? If you're simply defending yourself, and the result of defending yourself is taking another person's life, then you are technically not violating the 5th commandment. If your intention is to take this person's life when you are being attacked, then you are in violation of the 5th commandment. Okay, an attacker should not be considered an innocent person. Remember, murder was defined in the first couple slides as killing of an innocent person. If someone is attacking you and threatening your life, are they an innocent person? The answer is no. An attacker is someone who is threatening to harm you or another person. In that case, we have the right to defend ourselves. All right, we should never think that death of an attacker is the only answer to self-defense. But we must not rule it out. Self-defense is if you are protecting your life from an attacker who is threatening your life. Other defense is if you are protecting another person's life from an attacker. We have a duty to practice both self-defense and other defense if we are ever put in a life or death situation. All right, the Catechism teaches us that someone who defends his life is not guilty of murder even if he is forced to deal his aggressor a lethal blow. If, in fact, in the act of defending ourselves, we are forced to kill the other, that is not murder. The act of self-defense can have a double effect: the preservation of one's own life and the killing of an aggressor. One is intended, the other is not. So let me break that down again. All right, the act of self-defense has a double effect. You are preserving your own life and killing an aggressor. One of them is intended. Which one is intended? You are trying to protect your own life. The other one is not. You are not trying to kill this person. If in the act of defending yourself this person dies, that is not murder. That is self-defense or other defense. Okay? We'll go over more examples of this when I come back on Wednesday. All right? On to just war now. Okay? Just war is a soldier in battle killing another soldier. All right? War is an awful thing. No one ever really wins in a war. Loss of life occurs, and often civilians are devastated by the military. Okay, however, the church has guidelines for just war, because we know that unfortunately we live in a world where war happens. Okay, when the church makes guidelines, this means that sometimes a war is permitted in order to protect people and to bring about a good for the person, or for the people, excuse me. Okay, just be aware that in a just war, there is not intentional or indiscriminate killing of innocent civilians. The Catechism defines very strict requirements in order for an armed military action against an aggressing nation, okay, to be determined as a just act of war by the Church. Okay, so that's what I'm going to show you on the next slide, is the 4 things that the Church shows us have to be necessary in order for the war to be considered just. And we know that whenever we see the word just in religion, we have to think of the word fair. Very good. Okay, so these are the requirements that the church gives us for a war to be considered just. All right. 1. The aggressor nation must inflict lasting, grave, and certain damage against the defending nation. Okay, so the aggressor nation, okay, whoever is the bully, let's just say the bully in this scenario. Okay, if the defending nation is going to go to war against this aggressor nation, okay, the defending nation must ask themselves, has this other nation against me inflicted lasting, grave, or certain damage? If the answer is yes, that's 1 check. Okay, so this is if the defending nation is going to war. Number 2, there must be no other way to gain peace besides war. Okay, which basically means every other option has been exhausted. Okay, they have tried to gain peace, they've tried to talk to this other nation, they have tried to come up with some sort of solution, and the defending nation did all they could to try and get the aggressor nation to stop the attacks. So again, this defending nation is asking themselves, okay, did we try every other route possible? Did we try everything we could to stop this aggressor nation from attacking us? If the answer is yes, we have done everything we could, we have exhausted every other option, and they are still attacking us, then that's another just reason to go to war. Number 3, this defending nation must ask themselves, is there a high risk of success? Okay, the defending nation now must think, what happens if and when war starts? What are some questions that you think they might ask themselves? How long do you think the war is going to last? Is it going to be quick? Is it going to be a couple of months? Is it going to be 5 years? How about how many soldiers will die? How many people who have dedicated their life to their country will never see home again? How about, is there a very good chance of winning? Is there a very good chance that if we as the defending nation go and try and stand up to this bully, this aggressor nation that's attacking us, are we going to win? Is there a good chance that this is going to be quick and a fair war? If you can answer all those questions and you think that you're not going to lose that much life and war is not going to last that long, Is there a very good chance of winning? Then we can put another check next to that. Alright, then we have the last one. Okay, it's a little wordy. The evil produced by armed conflict must not exceed the evil of the aggressor. Okay? A country cannot retaliate with unnecessary force. So the evil produced by the defending nation, who is asking themselves if they're going to war, they decide to go to war. Okay? The evil produced by this defending nation against the initial aggressor nation must not be what we call extreme or retaliate with unnecessary force. Okay? Ultimately, how they attack the aggressor during this war cannot be worse than how the aggressor nation first inflicted damage. Okay? So the country should not be using any unnecessary force. They should only do what they have to do in order to maintain peace. Okay? So I give you the example here of using a nuclear bomb. Why would be using a nuclear bomb be exceeding the evil produced by the aggressor? Well, because when you are using a nuclear bomb, you're not only killing soldiers, you're killing civilians. Okay, so the use of a nuclear bomb in the eyes of the church would be considered wrong or immoral because you are taking life other than soldiers. Okay, it's one thing if a soldier and soldier are going to go back and forth because they both believe that what they're fighting for is right. But if a soldier is going to go up against an unarmed civilian, well, that's not right, that's wrong, that's immoral. Okay? I'll answer any questions you have about just war when we enter class on Wednesday. Next slide. Alright, section 4. We're going to start section 4 a little bit. Okay, section 4 deals with law and love. Right, we have the actual law of love right here. Love your neighbor as yourself. Okay, this law is closely connected to the fifth commandment. More common offenses happen every day where people are not physically hurt, but harm is done in some other way due to a lack of charity. Okay, and that's what we're going to talk about in section 4. Alright, so before we get started, we have to ask ourselves, what is charity? Okay, charity, another vocab word for us, is defined as the virtue by which we love our neighbors for the sake of our love for God. Okay, this means that because we love God, we must also love our neighbor. Okay, this includes our enemies. It's hard not to strike back when we are hurt. Think about somebody that hurts you. What's the first reaction that we normally have? Normally we want to get even with this person. But Jesus is telling us to treat our enemies with charity. Love our neighbor as ourself. Okay? This isn't just the person to the left or the right of you. This is everyone. Okay? It's hard enough not to strike back when we're hurt. But again, that first reaction we have is to try and get even or get revenge on this person. But Jesus is telling us that we have to respond with love. Jesus tells us that we must treat our enemies with charity. Right? This means that we can't wish them harm. Okay? Sometimes we even need to pray for them. Pray that they will find God's love and follow His ways and obey Him. It's important to note here that charity is the virtue by which we love our neighbors. Okay? A little later in this section, we're going to start to go over how we love those people that truly love us. So charity is how we love our neighbor. Let's just make sure we know that. Love our neighbor. Good. All right, well, I pose the question to you, how can we treat our enemies with charity? Like we just talked about in the last slide. Pray for these people. Don't wish them harm. And of course, this is an important one, be obedient to them if they are our legitimate superior. All right, so every year I talk about how I know that all of you hate my guts, right? I'm the worst teacher. I give so much homework. All of you go home and talk up to your parents about how much you can't stand Mr. Brennan. Okay, you might consider me somewhat of an enemy, right? You don't like me. You don't like the way I teach. You don't like how much homework I give, how hard my tests are, right? So you go home and you tell mom and dad, I hate him. I can't stand him. Well, I'm still a legitimate authority, right? I'm still your teacher. So you might hate my guts, but do you still have to study for my tests? Do you still have to do my homework? Do you still have to study for my trimester? Do you still have to come to class every day with your top button buttoned? Yes. So even though you might not like me, or you might even hate my guts, right, you still have to listen to me because I'm a legitimate superior. I love this quote here at the bottom of the page. I will know whether I love my enemy if I wish him well. We must wish well to everyone. My will, where I wish others well or ill, is the center of my love. So ultimately saying the center of your love is if you wish others well or you wish people ill. Okay? I may not like my enemy, but if I wish him well, I am fulfilling Christ's words, love your enemy. So I'm not saying you have to be best friends with this person, but you must not wish them harm or wish anything poorly happen to them. Okay? Like, if I really didn't like Mr. Fury, I would hope that on the way home, he gets a flat tire. And then, to make it worse, I would get joy from him taking time out of his day to have to change his tire, have to go to a place to get a new tire. Right? That's not charity. I would never wish harm on somebody, okay? Or I would never hope that something bad happens to somebody. If you do, you're breaking the fifth commandment. Alright guys, last slide for today. Section 4, Jesus says, if you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? What a tough question right there. If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? For even the sinners, even the people that do wrong, love those who love them. Right? Everybody loves somebody. But Jesus says, I say, love your enemies and do good to those who hate you. Expect nothing in return, and your reward will be great in heaven. Think about that line right there. Let's highlight that. But I say, love your enemies and do good to those who hate you. Think about that for a second. It's easy to do good to people who do good to us, right? Mom, dad, brothers, sisters, friends, right? But think about your enemies. I say, love your enemies and do good to those who hate you. It's really a strong challenge there, right? Expect nothing in return, and we know, of course, our reward will be great in heaven. All right, we should know this is from the Gospel of Luke. That's it for today for section 3 and 4. I'm going to ask you for the rest of class. I put an assignment in e-backpack. Okay, that's going to be assignment 35, the Good Samaritan. There's a total of 4 questions that I'm going to ask you to answer. So you're going to have to read section 5 in the textbook. It's a total of 2 pages with pictures. Okay, so make sure we read the assignment and then answer the 4 questions. We read section 5 and answer assignment 35, the Good Samaritan, total of 4 questions. And then we'll talk about this more on Wednesday. All right? Thank you. Remember, you have an open book quiz tomorrow, sections 1, 2, and 3, words to know, and then quiz on Friday on sections 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, multiple choice, true and false. All right, have a good day.